importance of taking action to support our, oh, yeah, there you go, to support Green New Deal advocates and make sure that we can have the Green New Deal become a reality within our lifetime. We must protect the movement wins we've already achieved and scale up that work towards a livable climate and human rights, towards a livable climate and our human rights, not profit. Can our other facilitators introduce themselves?
Hi, my name is Yara. I use they, them pronouns and am campaign organizer at Sunrise. So if you are brand new to using Scale to Win, I will be training everybody who is new on how to use the dialer. So do not fear if this is your first time. I will tell you all about making calls.
Awesome. Thank you, Yara. Okay, we're going to get started with our phone bank. I want to give you all an overview of what we're going to get up to tonight. First, we'll hear from a few incredible movement leaders. Then we'll go into breakouts, one for our experienced phone bankers who are confident on using Scale to Win, and they will get started on calls right away. The other breakout room is for new phone bankers who will be trained on how to use the dialer tool to make calls. Right before we close off, we'll check in on our dial goal and land on some next steps. Okay, I'm extremely proud to kick off Sunrise's general election phone banks with a stellar lineup of speakers. First off, I'm honored to have Sage Lanier here with us right now. Sage is a climate activist, educator, and nonprofit leader. She got her start teaching her own program at UC Berkeley, which broke records for largest ever student-led class. She is the co-founder and executive director of Sustainable and Just Future and was recently honored by Time Magazine as the 2023 Next Generation Leader. Thank you so much for joining us and feel free to take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I tonight decided to just share some insights of what I've been thinking over the past week because I wanted to make sure that we're not repeating ourselves amongst the speakers. I'm sure we all have very similar motives for being here and stuff. So one thing I've been thinking about a lot since the DNC, I was there in Chicago last week, and I'm sure lots of folks on the call have very mixed feelings about, the current state of electoral politics, and, we're all on the same page with that. But one thing I was really struck with after watching Bernie's speech and AOC 2 nights before, or maybe it was the night before, was the realization that we actually are successfully pushing the Democratic Party to the left on a lot of issues. And I was realized this because 8 years ago, when Bernie was running for president, the Democratic Party did not want to touch him with the 10-foot pole. They hated him. He was a radical. He was a socialist in the worst way. They did not want to do anything with his politics. And progressives like Bernie and AOC have really become, essential core parts of that party because they realize that those handful of progressives encapsulate damn near the entire youth vote, and they cannot win us without them. And so now you've got union presidents at the DNC, like the Democratic Party did not love unions 8 years ago. We have pushed them left on so many things, including, housing and healthcare and college student debt and things like this. These were not Democratic platforms 8 years ago. So we obviously have so much to do and so much work to be done. But regardless of whether or not you want to view yourself as I'm sure, a lot of folks here identify as progressives. If you want to view progressivism as the future of the Democratic Party, or you want to see, a new establishment, I think we have so much voting power. We have so much decision-making power here. And they know now that they cannot do it without us, and they cannot do it without those handful of progressives that represent like 35% of the population's beliefs at this point. So that was just a reflection I wanted to share because I was like a little disillusioned, feeling like, oh, there's only a handful of them in Congress. What are they really getting done? But I realized these are the guys they have to invite to speak. And they have so much sway with voters. They have so much sway with the press, so much sway with donors because they represent our beliefs. And like Bernie got up there and he was like, we need to get that dirty, filthy, nasty billionaire money out of politics. And the whole arena was like, yeah. And I was like, hold on. Whose Democratic Party is this? That's what I wanted to share tonight.
Thank you so much, Sage. Our next amazing speaker is Kanyela Ng. Kanyela has organized at the intersections of climate and community for over 15 years. In 2020, he co-founded Green New Deal Network. He's led campaigns to pass the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act. Previously, he served in the Hawaii State Legislature, where he secured hundreds of millions of dollars in climate investments. Take it away.
Thanks. Aloha mai kako. It's great to be here with so many incredible young organizers. I'm a millennial, here to say that together, Gen Z and millennials combined represent 104 million voters. Climate change is a top issue for us. And together we can make or break not just this election, but the next 40 elections ahead of us. So now I know that getting involved in elections like this year isn't the most radical or even moral choice. I'm the first one to tell you that we can't simply vote for justice. We know better. It takes much, much more. Rather, we vote for survival. We engage in order to keep the terrain steady, to fight another day, and we make choices today that open up possibilities tomorrow. So I've been doing this work for near 20 years now, from early teenage years. And at 19, I helped convert the first building on campus to zero emissions. I helped socialize our college bus pass so all students could use it. It was $5 for everyone, not $350 for the rich kids. At 24 years old, I helped pass the nation's first statewide 100% renewable energy goal as Hawaii's first or as Hawaii's youngest state legislators. So let me tell you that sometimes you need to play the inside game. Sometimes you need to play the outside game. Sometimes you need to take direct action, even radical action, like what we did last year after the Maui fires, where we shut down the most popular tourist beach on our island with an occupation, fishing for housing. And now, but the strategy isn't always clear. It's not always clear like what I'm doing right or not. But I'll tell you one thing that always works, and that is the grind of it all. Uh, the most powerful work that I've been a part of is often the least glamorous. At times, it's tedious. It takes fortitude, emotionally, physically, but that's also the most rewarding. Your youth is your secret power. You don't have as many reputational and relational baggage to manage like I do. And everything I do, my kids' teachers notice. You can get arrested. Folks will understand. The energy that I wish I still had, frankly. Like when I first took out a Republican in my district when I was running at 23 years old, I didn't have any money, so I knocked on 120 doors a day on average. And in tropical summers, in an 89 Corolla without air conditioning, you're more or less over it after 80 or 90 doors. You want to go home. But I'll think to myself, if I can just push through this and hit 30 doors more, I will win because I know for a fact my opponents, 67 years old, aren't doing that. Their knees wouldn't handle it. So while they did their fancy parties, their ads, I was out holding real conversation. It's direct and it's the most impactful. And because we have the truth and moral authority on our side, if we talk to enough people, we will win. So that's what this phone bank is all about. As the skies are turning red, so will our spirits. As electricity shuts down, our power will ramp up. As water keeps on rising, so must we. Mahalo nui, aloha ina kako, ahuyo.
That was amazing. Very grateful to you and all of your amazing work. Next, I'm honored to have Michelle Dietrich with us. Michelle is a national environmental and Democratic Party leader, battleground state organizer, and organizer for women's and labor issues. Founder and chair of the first ever DNC Environmental and Climate Crisis Council, she also serves as a chair of Michigan Women for Harris Walz and on the advisory board of Jane Fonda Climate PAC 1.5 Climate Strategy Group and on the board of her Regional Labor Federation. A former Peace Corps volunteer and internationally honored poet. She lives here on her family's farm. She lives on her family's farm and Rewald Native Prairie in Michigan. Take it away, Michelle.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here tonight, because this right here, what you are, what we're all doing here tonight, is how we win. As Kenyella was saying, it's those direct personal contacts, the phone calls, the door knocks. They make a huge, huge difference. And especially in potentially in a state like mine, where, you know, we have had 10,000 vote margins that elected Trump previously. So my name, is Michelle Dietrich, she, her. I'm a climate organizer, former elected official, union member, former Bernie staffer, who loved hearing about Bernie, and the founder and chair of the DNC's first ever Council on Climate, which I founded 5 years ago last week, which was something that was only possible with the help of Sunrise and youth leaders who came together to support that at the DNC. So I am everlastingly grateful for that. And I know it is cliche to say, but it is once again the most important election of our lifetime. And you know this, but some of the people you're calling tonight may not. That everything that we hold dear is at stake: our democracy, our rights, our freedoms, and of course, the planet, everything. And I am really enthusiastic about the candidates that we have. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are unapologetic climate champions. It goes way back for both of them. They understand the issue and have years of experience working on solutions at the local, state, and national levels. So, and as you know, they know, we all know, the climate crisis is not coming. It is here. It's now. We can't afford to go back. And we know that Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans don't just want to reverse the progress of the last 4 years, which we need to build on. We need to do a lot more. They want to roll back the progress of the last 4 decades on this issue and so many others. So, but as the Vice President says, we are not going back, and we can't afford to waste 4 more years with climate deniers in charge. So, why did we have the best midterm elections since the Kennedy administration two years ago? Because we made the calls and we knocked the doors. And youth voters, as you know, were a crucial part of those wins, because climate's an important issue to youth voters, but not only youth voters. The second biggest group of climate voters is actually age 65 plus, which, shame on me as a Gen Xer, since we're mentioning generations, we need to get our act together. But gray is the new green, as Bill McKibben says. So organizing to get that vote out across the board, across generations, is the responsibility of all of us. I'm really grateful to youth climate leaders for taking the lead, but all of us, all generations, need to step up, which is why I'm so glad this is a phone bank open to all ages. So thank you for all you're doing. I'm so thrilled and honored to be here. Let's go win.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Up next, I'm happy to introduce Varshini Prakash, co-founder and former executive director of the Sunrise Movement. She led Sunrise's campaigns to launch the Green New Deal and fight for the Inflation Reduction Act. Take it away.
Hey, everybody. It feels so good to be back on one of these. Hello, I hope you're having a good night, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I have dedicated the last 11 years to fighting the climate crisis with young people, and the vast majority of that was with Sunrise. And that means that I have literally seen what the power of young people is and how much our world has changed because of it. And some of you may know about this, some of you may not, but 6 years ago, dozens of Sunrisers held a sit-in and then Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. And this was in the heyday of the Trump administration. Trump was setting up oil barons as heads of state, appointing these extremist Supreme Court justices. He was literally receiving to-do lists from big oil CEOs and ticking them off one by one. And at the same time, there wasn't a person in our mainstream politics of either political party who was deeply speaking the truth at the highest levels of government about the existential threat of climate change. So in that demonstration, we reminded our country's leaders that scientists have given us 12 years, this was in 2018, 12 years to act on climate or risk the very stability of our world and all of its beings. And that action and the work after it sparked tens of thousands of young people to get involved in the climate movement for the first time. And in the months and years that came after, we chanted, we sang, we demonstrated, we elected climate champions, we talked to our neighbors, we held events, we joined together with youth around the world, made allies in people's movements from labor to environmental justice to racial justice. We turned that people power into electoral power, and young people showed up as a make or break force in the 2020 election. And all of that laid the groundwork to put pressure on the president and on Congress to make the largest climate investment by a single country, the Inflation Reduction Act, that put thousands of people to work, that is helping to reboot manufacturing in America. And we are just like literally at the beginning of what is possible. All of that in 6 years. So we've come so far and we have a ways to go. And so what I want to say is the next 6 years, like what that looks like, that is up to us. And that's a big question, but I also think the first step is incredibly clear. You're here. You're doing it. The first step is defeating Donald Trump and getting Kamala Harris elected. So you're on your way. And in these elections, we fight for political terrain, right? This isn't about just like allegiance to a politician or falling in line with a political party. This is a smart calculation about which candidate delivers us the conditions in which we can further our goals for our people, who has a pathway to deliver for working people and young people and gives a damn about our future. And this is about who's going to ensure that those massive investments we want are not just protected, as people have said, but they are expanded. Because we always knew that the fight to stop the climate crisis would take far more than a single bill or a single term in office. So there isn't a question in this election that Kamala Harris is that candidate. I don't need to tell you that. That's why you are here. We don't have to talk about the hours of incoherent rambling that Trump did with his billionaire bestie, Elon Musk, or, the fact that his climate slogan is drill, baby, drill. There's no question. And there's no question about the consequences if we don't defend against the dangers of Trump in this election. For our home, for our people, for our land, for our water, for our air, for everything that we love. So yeah, we have a ways to go, but we also know our first task. Let's elect Kamala Harris, and then let's throw down to use the power we gain when we win to secure lasting protection for our home and everyone that lives in it. I'm so grateful to you. Like, this is the work. This is the most important work that you could be doing for our climate. Thank you. So inspired by you. And I'll pass it on.
I'm feeling so hyped to make calls after hearing that. I can see lots of people excited also in the chat. Let's give it up one more time in the chat for Varshini. And now we get to hear from Johanna Speaks from the Climate and Community Project, a climate think tank with a network of researchers and experts developing crucial and justice-based climate policy. Her research focuses on extraction of fossil fuels, energy justice and democracy, and the political economy of transitions. Prior to joining the Climate and Community Project, Johanna managed the Climate and Energy Program at the Democracy Collaborative, a think tank focusing on designing a more democratic economy. Johanna cut her teeth organizing in the Netherlands against fossil fuel infrastructure, influence, and finance, and particularly against Royal Dutch Shell. Take it away.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for having me. And wow, what a tough one to follow up is Varshini speaking. I always get so inspired. So hopefully I can just add to this from my wonky little spot here. But as was mentioned, as Maggie mentioned, I'm the executive director at a climate policy think tank for my day job. And one of the things as I was preparing for this conversation was that I was thinking about was something that my colleague, comrade, and fellow at Climate Community Project, Olufemi Taiwo, says. He often says we are world building, we are world making. And world making is not an easy task. It means constructing futures that people actually want to live in and fight for. And the world I want to make is one where we have a decarbonized, decommodified energy grid that doesn't pollute neighborhoods. I want us to have comfortable homes, where we're free from brutality, not only here in the United States, but also across the world in places like Gaza. And that students have the resources to go to school and thrive, and care work is valued and resourced. But this is not the world that we live in today. Right now, we are in a cost of living crisis with a record number of people who can't afford their rent or their utilities. People have to stitch together multiple jobs to make ends meet and pay for things like childcare or groceries. And the US is backstopping a genocide in Palestine that's killed 17,000 children. And we see climate disasters that have created cycles of destruction. Some of my colleagues call this the polycrisis, multiple crises happening at once. So how do we get from this world to the one we actually want? This is it. We organize, we protest, we phone bank, we elect champions, we write legislation, we build new bases of power, we keep our electeds accountable. This is the work we are here to do today. And for me, there are 4 really critical issues to a transformative Green New Deal as we move forward in the next 4 years. One, we have to tackle that cost of living crisis. We have to invest in essential zero-emission public services, invest in childcare and schools. We have to invest in housing for all. Second, we need to supply good jobs and build new infrastructure. We need massive public investments and strong regulation that actually manage the decline of the fossil fuels and ratchet up renewable energy. And we need to build the power of labor unions and workers to get it done. Third, we need to end these forever wars. We need to make a strong pivot away from that now focuses on peace instead and provision of resources instead of war. And fourth, we have to prevent disasters and protect migrants. In moments of crises, we need the federal government to just actually support people to navigate the realities of economic insecurity, what it feels like to be left without a home. And that might be internal to the United States, or it might be folks from abroad who are looking for a life free from violence and economic insecurity. So this is our moment to create the political terrain that allows us to fight for the transformative climate policy we need. If we lose in November to Trump, we will be on our heels. As Varshini was describing, we're going to be fighting to ensure that the right doesn't defund the EPA. And to be clear, the world that I want to build is going to go beyond what we got in the Inflation Reduction Act. It means that we are going to end the era of fossil fuels, and that's why we have to fight so hard. We need to show the political power as the left. We have to defeat Trump, and we need to prove that the left's power, we have the power on the left to actually win elections, and that the Democratic Party needs us. So thank you all so much, and I'm so grateful for you all doing the work of phone banking tonight.
Thank you so much. That was very inspirational. Last but not least, I'm honored to introduce Elise. Elise is an organizer and movement leader. She graduated from UC Berkeley with the top GPA in environmental economics and policy while leading Gen Z for Change, a national nonprofit that uses social media, code, and creators to educate and activate millions of people for climate, labor, human rights, and more. Elise actively works in national climate policy. Most notably, she posted the first video on TikTok urging the White House to reject approval of the Willow Project. She later worked with frontline leaders and representative members of Congress to urge Jeb Odd to suspend Willow Project permits during litigation. All yours, Elise.
Hi, everyone. Just want to reiterate what everyone has said so far, that thank you all for being here. This is the important work that needs to be done to achieve a victory in November. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, I'm Elise. I'm 22. I'm executive director of Gen Z for Change. And yeah, you might have seen my videos about public transit, supporting striking workers, or urging President Biden to reject approval of the largest proposed oil drilling project on US public lands, the Willow Project. And still, I'm on this call working to mobilize the climate community against Donald Trump. Not just because he's a climate denier, to say the least, or that we've seen climate wins like the LNG pause earlier this year, but also because I am a relentless optimist. I am in full commitment to actualize a world that we deserve across all issues and all corners of this beautiful planet. I'm a realist, but I never let fascists like Trump dictate what is possible. For far too long, the climate community has prioritized molecules over mass movements, not realizing that inequity, exploitation, and our disconnect to Mother Earth is the reason we're facing climate catastrophe. And I can say with certainty that we cannot combat the climate crisis with a sole focus on emissions instead of the communities breathing toxic air, workers growing our food and building our homes, tribes stewarding the land, students learning inside crumbling public school infrastructure. In order to actually combat the climate crisis, we must build a coalition that's diverse in background, tactic, and ideology, that is centered on the working class, indigenous, and frontline communities. We must champion a world where people can walk and bike to school or work without fear of a car accident, where we reinvest in the public sector and create millions of dignified union jobs to build electric cars and buses, a high-speed rail network, solar panels, wind turbines, and more, where Palestinians can drive to their olive grove without needing the right color on their ID, without being herded through checkpoints or intimidated by settlers. This is the dream that I have, and I refuse to let it go. I urge you, do not let Donald Trump or the threat of Donald Trump to diminish your love of people and this planet. People in power may control the real world, but don't let them control your dreams and strongest desires. Let's organize, fight, love, and win. Thank you so much for having me here, and excited to phone bank with you all.
Thank you so much, Elise. I'm so excited to defeat Trump with you. If we can keep the White House out of Donald Trump's reach, we can win the Green New Deal, keep Project 2025 from restricting our rights, and get one step closer to securing the just, livable future we know is possible. This will allow us to build the strongest possible intersectional youth movement. That is why I'm so glad that we are all here today, and we're going to go through some important facts. Election Day is November 5th. Today, we are calling on young voters under the age of 35 in Arizona, where early voting opens 27 days before Election Day on October 9th. There is no time to waste because voters' minds are being made up now. They can cast their votes in early October. We only have about a month to reach these folks. Having conversations with voters on the phones or at the doors is the most effective way to make sure climate voters make it to the polls. With the nearly 60 people on this call, if we all stay on till the end of the phone bank, I think we can easily hit over 20,000 calls today, getting us rolling in our general election organizing. If during your conversations you want more guidance on how to answer tough questions about Trump and Harris, check out the information on our mass phone bank call guide, which I think was just dropped in the chat. While people are opening the call guide in their browsers, I'm going to pause here for a moment because we must acknowledge that all of us are on stolen land. I am on Shoshone-Bannock land. If you know what land you're on, please feel free